This program brings you highlights of the recent Toyota Dealer 400 in Mpumalanga.
The town of Lydenburg is a gateway to Mpumalanga province and was established in 1850 by a company operated by Voortrekker leader Andries Potgieter. Lydenburg played an important role in the early history of the Transvaal and nowadays plays an important role in the Absa Off-Road Championship. The Toyota Dealer 400 is firmly established as a blue-chip event on the national calendar and is traditionally the penultimate race of the year.
Race headquarters at Lydenburg Toyota was a hive of activity as teams went through scrutineering and documentation processes. There were also little cosmetic chores to be taken care of, and co-drivers made note of late changes to the route and event regulations.
Service crews find different ways to keep themselves entertained during quiet moments before events. In the pit area, there was an air of the calm before the storm as crews waited for the start of the traditional Friday prologue to determine start positions for the race.
With the production vehicle title in the bag, the pressure was off for newly crowned SA champions Duncan Vos and Rolf Pitchford.
Obviously the pressure's off as far as the championship is concerned, but obviously we're not going to change any of our tactics. We want to do well, try and win the race. We've tested this week, the cars are really good. We've developed them a little bit, so we want to try and do as well as we can, hopefully try and win the race.
The transition from Class E to the Premier SP class has not been easy for Ford factory driver Thomas Rundle, but the Pretoria-based driver remained optimistic.
Yeah, it's been difficult. Getting used to the cars, it's taken longer than I expected, but looking forward to the weekend, no doubt. We've done a lot of changes again, a lot of testing, which is good, and just looking forward to the weekend.
Matters were also pretty relaxed in the Castrol Toyota camp with Hein Lategan in his rookie year in off-road racing in a laid-back mood.
No, I think the championship has been decided, so I think the pressure is now gone. For the first time I think we're all very relaxed and we're just going to try our best and do as well as we can.
The Atlas Copco crew of Gary Bertelt and Andre Vermeulen won the Highveld 400, but in Lydenburg were more interested in their championship position.
Well, we're lying second in the championship at the moment, which is an incredible achievement as privateers. And quite frankly, we just want to try and keep it there. So there's no ambition of winning events overall. It's simply going out there, staying ahead of the guys that are just behind us in the championship. So we want to try and finish second in this championship.
Duncan Vos and Rolf Pitchford had already clinched the overall championship, but the chase for second and third is delicately poised, with only 1 point separating Berthold Vermeulen and Tollefson Evans.
When the top-seeded crews draw for prologue start positions, and there were ironic cheers when Castrol Toyota driver Anthony Taylor drew first place. Chris Visser also kept the Toyota flag flying with second place, with the top three rounded out by a playful Nissan veteran Hannes Grobler and his teammate Johan Moore.
With first on the road in the race proper as the prize, pre-event prologues are always ultra-competitive. The start of the prologue was at the Lydenburg Rugby Club, with the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton followed off the start line by Chris Visser and Jaapie Badenhorst in the RFS Toyota Hilux. Cars were flagged away at 2-minute intervals, with Hannes Grobler and John Moore third on the road in the Donaldson Nissan Navara.
From the word go, it was obvious that Anthony Taylor and Robin Houghton were on a mission. The Castrol Toyota pair led races throughout the season, but going into the Toyota Dealer 400 had been unable to conjure up an elusive victory. Experience is no problem for the Toyota crew, with the versatile Taylor a multiple South African circuit racing champion, and Houghton has won South African off-road and rally championships. Their prologue blitz paid off, with the pair setting the fastest time by a whopping 46 seconds.
Veteran Hannes Grobler will part company with Nissan at the end of the season after a 33-year association with Nissan Motorsport. Grobler is as motivated as ever, and along with co-driver Jean Moore set the second fastest time in the prologue. Grobler and Moore were followed by newly crowned South African champions Duncan Vos and Rolf Pitchford. Looking for their 5th win of the season, Vos and Pitchford finished just 1 second behind Grobler and Moore.
Duncan Foss is also a Nissan veteran. After winning the Formula GTI Championship, he joined the Nissan team that competed in the Bankford Touring Car and Bridgestone Production Car Championships. The recently crowned champions were the meet in a Nissan sandwich, with Norwegian Ivar Tollefsen and Quinn Evans just 2 seconds behind in the third Donaldson Nissan Navara. After 70 kilometers of racing, only 3 seconds separated the three Nissans.
Now in their third season in the APSA Championship, Tollefsen and Evans also finished fourth in this year's Dakar Rally. Tollefsen runs a real estate business in Norway and Sweden and is something of a modern-day adventurer. Apart from off-road racing, his hobbies are skiing and mountain climbing, and Ivar has led several climbing expeditions to the Antarctica. Evans runs his own small IT company, as well as the family recycling business, and when he got married to wife Emily, chose the northernmost church in the world in the Arctic Circle.
After a run of disappointing performances, Higo Jaap de Bruin bounced back to set the 5th fastest time in the Michelin Excel Toyota Hilux. It was a solid performance from the pair, who were troubled by a persistent prop shaft vibration. The father and son team came in ahead of the off-road legend Alfie Cox and German co-driver Jürgen Schroeder, with the pair using the race as a final shakedown for an assault on the 2010 Dakar Rally in Argentina.
The Atlas Copco pair of Gary Berthold and Andre Vermeulen made history when they became the first privateer team to win an APSA Championship event since the inception of the Premier SP class. A win on the Highveld 400 also broke the string of 5 successive Nissan wins this year and took the pair into second place in the championship. Hot on their heels were Hein Lateghan and Chris Birkin in the second of the Castrol Toyota Hilux factory entries.
Back in action after an accident on the Sun City 400 that saw them miss the Highveld 400 were Chris Verse and Japie Badenhorst in a rebuilt RFS Toyota Hilux. They reported a clean run and were happy with their afternoon's work. It was also a good afternoon for Thomas Rundle and Stavros Giannakis, who gave their confidence a boost with a clean run in the factory diesel turbo Ford Ranger. Rundle and Giannakis came in ahead of teammates Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer, who finished on the podium in both the Sun City 400 and the Highveld 400.
Former South African champions Neil Woolridge and Kenny Scholthammer are among the most experienced crews in the APSA Off-Road Championship. Ford are the first South African manufacturer to go the diesel route in the APSA Championship, and the Sun City and Highveld 400 podiums were a major boost for the team. Woolridge and Scholthammer are a unique combination in that both have also won South African championships on 2 wheels.
After a disappointing run in the Highveld 400, youngsters Christian de Plooy and Henk Janssen van Vuren were also happy with their prologue in the RFS Toyota Hilux. With little rain falling in the area prior to the race, dust was a problem and hampered progress for de Plooy and Janssen van Vuren. There was also a solid performance from Kobus van Tonde and Rian Kwalpa in the Unifreight Ford Ranger. Van Tonde is a former Craven Week rugby player and also played international polo cross before turning to off-road racing and collecting model cars and trucks.
The Highveld 400 provided Terence Marsh and Peter Groenewald with their best finish of the season, with the pair taking the Regent Racing Nissan Navara to 3rd place. Behind them, circuit racer Leroy Poulter and Rob Howie were flying in the Feroda Nissan Hardbody, with the pair setting the fastest Class E time by the proverbial country mile. They were followed by Bloemfontein couple George and Sharon Barkhazen in the new AIM Toyota Hilux, with the pair battling without reverse gear and twice straying off the route did not help their cause. There was also a steady run from Graham Leith and Mike Lawrenson in the Transcore Ford Ranger. Leith and Lawrenson were looking to bounce back after a disappointing Highveld 400. Dion Fenter and Ian Palmer were second in Class E in the 4x4 Megaworld Toyota Hilux. But there were problems for Rubicon crew Peter Ruthven and Deval Boshoff.
Oh, we missed this corner here. We didn't want to go through this maze lands, and we went through this grass and there was rocks 1 meter and we bent our prop shaft. So we're stuck. We're busy taking it off, going back to the SP. Start tomorrow, taking time and off.
Back at the designated service park, there were ominous dark clouds and a smattering of rain. While service crews got busy readying their chargers for battle, the next day crews were carrying out prologue post-mortems.
An early psychological boost for Taylor Houghton, and an interesting situation with only 3 seconds behind the Nissans in second, third and fourth. Just over 2 minutes separated the top 10 cars.
On the special vehicle front, the overall championship had also been settled. With 4 wins in 6 starts, the Motorrad Revo won 4x4, with Evan Hutchinson and Hakim Bergman aboard, had made sure of their second South African championship.
After a steady season in the Tyre Rack Jimco, the reliable Naim Mossaji was one of 3 competitors with a 100% finish record.
Hopefully we don't jinx it, but you know it's been going good. The car's been prepped nicely. I've got a good service crew now, so it helps a lot to prepare the car properly for the event, and then to drive a bit more cautiously, drive a bit more with your head rather than your foot. You know, so it's going okay.
It had also been a steady season for Regent Racing pair Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson, who were also defending a 100% finish record.
Well, we've had 2 bad qualifying races, the last 2 races, that have taken us from 3rd to 4th position. So if we can just sort out the qualifying, because we've come from about 35th and 28th all the way up to 4th and 5th in the last 2 races, passing a lot of cars. So the pace is there. It's just to sort out this qualifying. We've got stuck twice, and that's just hampered our progress. So, you know, if we can get that right, certainly, you know, we'll have a good result.
Perseverance had paid off for the Makanete brothers Keith and Andrew, and steady performances in the Zarko Light had taken them to 2nd in the Class B Championship.
I think so. I think it's been a very good first real season, and we're learning all the time and improving all the time. But Keith had quite a bit of experience navigating, and now he's taking that over into the driving, and I think we're doing well. I think we're coming right.
There was also festive air at the special vehicle draw for start positions, with the Century Racing crews of Mark Corbett and Rudy Balzar, as well as Colin Matthews and Alan Smith drawing 2nd and 3rd. When Shamir Varayawa drew number 5, it gave Evan Hutchison and Hakim Bergman their 5th number 1 slot of the season.
A philosophical Evan Hutchinson was not exactly overjoyed at being given the job of opening up the route for the rest of the field.
No, not at all. And not for the first time either. This is the 5th time we've been number 1 in time trial. It's just uncanny how we always end up with number 1 on the road. Anyway, it gives us quite a disadvantage. As long as we can just keep it clean, not get a puncture this time around, we'll just try and take it easy and try and find our way through.
A large crowd had gathered at the Lydenburg Rugby Club for the start of the prologue, with Evan Hutchinson and Hakim Bergman, albeit a little reluctantly, the first car on the road. Despite their fears about being asked to open up the route for the rest of the field, Hutchinson and Bergman were quickly into their stride. The one advantage of being first on the road was the complete lack of dust. The Motorrad crew took full advantage of these conditions and ended up setting the fastest time by an impressive 1 minute and 17 seconds.
Hutchinson and Bergman, who built the Motorrad Revo 1 4x4, arrived at the Toyota Dealer 400 with an impressive 100% finish record and 4 wins from 6 events. It was enough to wrap up the South African Championship and lift the pressure for the rest of the season.
Behind Hutchison and Bergman, there were a couple of surprises. After missing 2 events, veterans Nandus Alberts and Jeff Minnett were back in action in the Rapsa Bat and caused a stir by posting the 2nd quickest time of the day.
Alberts and Minnett were followed by brothers David and Gary White, who led the Class P contingent in the Rurikon Bat. An unusual camera angle gives a close-up look at the route.
What a low-down ride. That gives you some perspective of what off-road racing is all about, and the good news is that the cameraman should be out of hospital in just a week or 2.
The White brothers went to Lydenburg leading Class P, and a good prologue was just the early tonic they needed.
It was turning into a good day for the Class P runners, with reigning champions Johan and Etienne Besaidnout bouncing back from a string of non-finishes to set the fourth fastest time in the Adenko bat. Right behind the Cape Town brothers were impressive rookies Johan van Staden and James Rousseau in the KEC bat, who were only 6 seconds behind the Besaidnouts.
Former champion Shamir Variawa and Siegfried Rousseau battled through the prologue with no intercom between driver and co-driver and a persistent engine misfire. Despite that, the pair managed to keep a good pace going, with the Toyota 1000 Desert Race winners holding off by 5 seconds the Atlas Copco bat of Nick and Ryan Harper. Along with a number of other crews, the Harpers lost time when they had trouble finding the route early in the prologue. Storm clouds were building when Mike Whitehouse and Matthew Carlson ran into the same problem in the Regent Racing bat.
After a little hesitation, Whitehouse and Carlson decided that a little detour through the long grass was the quickest way back onto the route.
The father and son team of Hendrik and Jan Kraai were back together in the Keymax bat, with the pair former Class B champions, and chasing after them were veteran Bodo Berthold and Philip Hurselman in the Atlas Copco bat. Off-road racing runs in the Berthold family, with Bodo's 2 sons, Gary and Bevan, also in the race. 2 other veterans with a combined age in the high numbers were also in the Class P battle, with Richard Schilling and Mick Oosthuizen going well in the ACECO.
The locals know all the good vantage points from which to catch all the action, and there was early encouragement for Century Racing pairs Simon Beckett and Tim Curtis in Class B. They carved out a 90-second advantage over Derek DeToy and Steve Harris in the Orange Tree bat. In a little twist, Harris, who normally co-drives with Beckett, was sitting alongside DeToy. Business commitments kept Ian Pinar, who normally co-drives for DeToy, at home in the Cape.
The end of the prologue signalled a busy time for service crews. There were minor and sometimes more serious maladies to repair, and simply giving the car a wash and topping up the oil and petrol are luxuries unheard of in off-road racing.
A handy lead for Hutchison and Bergman, with no fewer than 5 Class P cars in the top 10, a feature of the Special Vehicle Prologue results.